People, are we good? Is your older brother happy?
Not yet.
Y'all should know every time, and I know the camera's moving right now, and every time before we start filming, he has to video call his older brother and make sure that older brother is happy. Otherwise, if older brother is not happy, older brother gives the both of us hell.
Really?
And I don't want that. Because Peter will also yell at me. Even though I'm technically his boss. So let's make older brother happy. Intermission. Enjoy this elevator music.
Contract cheating.
Contract cheating. Contracting someone else to do the work you should be doing, often in exchange for money or favors.
Yeah, that's the definition of joki. But in Indonesia, people know it as joki.
Maybe explain to the people that are listening, like for those that are not caught up with the lore.
Right. So a couple of days ago, I guess I posted a video of. Oof. I posted a video, and the video that what prompted me to post that video about how shocked I am at the condition of joki in Indonesia is because I think it was like last month or a couple of months ago, I was scrolling through TikTok or Twitter, and then I saw someone.
A content creator?
I think you know how like in Twitter ada manifest yang lu bisa submit anonymously. So somebody submitted there and they're like sebel banget deh gitu sama teman-teman gue tuh dilihat hina banget gitu soalnya gue ngejoki. Padahal kan gue jujur gitu, sungguh-sungguh aja gitu, kayak ini emang kayak gue pakai jasanya, gue ngerjain sungguh-sungguh kok atau begitulah. Dan gue tuh I was so shocked because all these I know that people contract cheat, I know people use joki, kayak I'm not naive. I know a lot of Indonesians use joki. Cuman I always thought that when they use joki, they know it's wrong, they know it's fraud, they know it's cheating,
right?
But they don't care, or they have their reasons kayak kepepet atau mungkin they need to take care of something else, jadi kayak nggak punya waktu, jadi harus bayar orang apa segala. Tapi tahu it's a choice. Tapi nggak taunya banyak yang nggak tahu itu tuh curang atau kayak itu fraud and bohong, like it's cheating. That's what shocked me because in that Twitter, like a lot of people replied, and some of them said, ya iyalah, joki itu emang hina gitu. And then somebody replied kayak
Hina
is like disgraceful, I guess.
Okay. Menghina. Pekerjaan yang hina. Okay.
Yeah, it's a disgraceful thing to do.
Okay.
Terus and then that person, somebody replied, serius nanya nih, emangnya joki tuh haram ya? Ini kan sama aja kayak kita hire IO. Kayak, so they're like, so I was so shocked, like I was flabbergasted.
Right.
And then on another occasion, somebody also tweeted like they do this contract cheating joki, jasa joki service. And a client of theirs ghosted them basically, but they already did the work. And mereka tuh kan marah-marah gitu kayak, ini nih emang kliennya kurang ajar banget, blah blah. And then people were replying kayak, oh ya harusnya DP dulu 50% nih, harusnya gini, kayak just like any other service. And then somebody replied, ya udah makanya kalau bisnis yang halal aja, jangan yang haram. Terus dia nanya, emangnya joki haram? I'm not here to comment halal haram ya, but a lot of people don't understand that it's wrong. So that's what shocked me, the normalization of joki. So I made a video and basically said how shocked I am that a lot of people don't understand that this is cheating and this is fraud.
And the fact that I think there's two things happening here. Number one, the people that genuinely they do not know, that they don't understand why this is something that falls under the realm of unethicality. And then there are the people that I think they know that this falls under the realm of unethicality, but they are making justifications for it under the guise of various excuses that I think we're going to talk about like in a little bit. I'm keeping in mind all of the people that are the people that are not kept up with this, that perhaps live abroad, and like if you just to paint the scenario of like perjokian in Indonesia,
Like how bad it is.
how bad it is, and like just to the extent to which that it has really proliferated throughout Indonesian society. We're not just talking in academic sense.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Yes, I think I would reckon that it started within academic settings of people basically, hey, I'm gonna pay you, do my assignment for me, take my test for me, because jokis also, some of them, they do the tests for you if they can, right?
I think it started with that.
It started within the academic
Maybe.
realm, right? Hey, I'm gonna pay you for you to do my assignment for me, take my test for me, do my thesis for me. It, I think, became very. I could be so wrong, but like at least like from my end, like what I perceive is that it became a really big thing, like within the thesis, like the realm of like thesis making. A lot of people will turn to jokis for bikin skripsi, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just confined to the world of academia anymore.
No.
Now you're starting to see people paying other people to do their so you know how sometimes when you apply for jobs there are assessments that you got to take in order for you to be able to qualify for that job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what the word I don't know what the word with that would be, but there are people that are basically like, hey, like do this for me so that I can get the job and take the credit for it.
Yeah.
So it's starting to happen within the vocational settings. It's starting to happen, I think, even like now in business, right?
Yeah.
One of the most surprising things that came out from like this entire discussion that like is blowing up on the internet about jokis is how there are businesses, like actual like registered companies in Indonesia,
Like corporations
PT that are providing startups that are providing
These
jockey services.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we'll do the shit for you, but you take the credit for it.
and they claim that they have like their revenue is like millions of dollars that they claim,
Ooh, dollars.
and they're like and so it is a multi-million dollar maybe business, or at least a multi-million rupiah business that people are doing out in the open, because apparently a lot of people don't realize that it's wrong, and a lot of people normalize it, and that's crazy. And you want to ask how bad jockey is in Indonesia. So I just found this, and Kemendikbud, so the Ministry of Education here, are the one who released this statistic, right? So I guess you can like question how many people they ask and things like that.
Yeah.
But this is in 2021. It says that 36% of students use jockey.
36%
There's
of students.
36%. And apparently 86% of those students who use jockey didn't feel like they're losing anything by giving their money to jockey. And apparently out of that population, around like almost 30% of them says that the reason is because they're lazy.
There's data there for you.
It's from the Ministry of Education, 2021.
Sorry,
so
the lazy part. Is it the people that are
yang pakai
yang
jasa,
pakai jasanya,
yang pakai
ya?
jasanya.
Okay, the ones that are demanding, not the suppliers.
Not
Yeah.
the supply. That's a completely different topic.
When I think about this topic, tarik ke belakang, like the more you like, the more you analyze the situation, the root of all of this, I would make the argument that it's really it's merit, right? The word that I'm trying to get at here is merit, and how it's not just how people are using jockeys to get by at school or like to get into jobs, and it's even the little things. For example, like what, by the way, Buzzer's in the back today, and yeah, that's Buzzer.
I told you to just come and frame.
Buzzer's in the back, you guys. Now get out. But it's not just what was I saying? Jockey for academics and jockey for getting jobs, but even the little things, like how it's a very normalized thing that people don't even bother hiding here in Indonesia, that they pay to get their driver's license. It's the simple things like that. We're not here to talk about sim, and we're here to talk about jockey. But really, the root cause of all of this, I think, it's the word merit, right? And how Indonesian society doesn't seem to have to place any value and importance in the idea of merit and the idea of earning things yourself.
I think that definitely plays a big role. So before I say I continue, I guess I would like to say kayak I'm obviously not an expert here. Kayak I'm not an academia apa segala, but I've been observing because like the video blew up and I received so many DMs and replies and things like that from people, and I realized that I guess the reason when you say merit, I do agree that there's a lack of appreciation and value towards merit, of earning something, of contributing value, and of emphasizing process. Because I think people are a lot of people and institutions, so this is partly structural too, that people are very result oriented only here.
Yes.
Right? Kayak yang penting nilainya bagus gitu. Apa nilainya apa segala.
Kasih.
Bagus banget. Iya, jadi kalau misalnya I think about merit. Misalnya kayak earning money, for example. I feel like in English the word is earning money. You need to earn money, right? Kind of. But in Indonesia, and this is not at all like dunking on the language, cuman kayak lebih lekat aja sama bahasanya itu kayak cari uang. Atau kayak cari uang sih biasanya.
Cari uang, cari nafkah.
So you find that.
Yeah.
As opposed to earning it.
Yeah.
And itu tuh kayaknya emang konsepnya kan apa ya? The concept of earning tuh nggak terlalu populer lah di kulturnya sini gitu. Dan itu sangat-sangat juga apalagi result oriented. Nah, kalau misalnya ngomongin perjokian, dan by the way going back to your point earlier, I don't know whether the non-academia jockey or the academia jockey started this. I don't know, but I guess and this is what happens in the online discussion, tapi I think we need to narrow it down. Kita sekarang cuman ngomongin joki akademia. Yang definisinya itu claiming kerjaan orang sebagai kerjaan lu, ya kan? Atau nyuruh orang, bayar orang untuk kerjain kerjaan sebagai claiming it sebagai kerjaan lu. Jadi kita ngomongin tuh joki kuda, 3-in-1, joki Mobile Legend, apalah itu, soalnya kebetulan namanya sama gitu. Jadi kebanyakan orang kalau ngomong joki itu belum tentu tahu, oh ini contract cheating yang kita omongin gitu. Jadi kita kan cuma ngomongin itu. Terus ada dua aspek sih yang gue lihat gitu ya. Ada yang structural sama cultural gitu, I think. Kalau misalnya yang structural, I saw that a lot of people yang use the service, yang pakai jasa joki, itu tuh bilang karena pertama mereka dosen pembimbingnya tuh susah dikontak. Jadi kalau mereka tuh harus ngerjain skripsi kan ada dosen pembimbing yang mungkin ngasih masukan atau misalnya kasih mereka, oh ini salah nih, ini harusnya begini gitu. Dan itu tuh emang terkenal, kayak it's a famous joke in Indonesia how difficult it is sometimes to chase after your dosen pembimbing, and sometimes they're not that helpful anyway gitu. Tapi kita nggak bisa salahin dosennya juga to a certain extent. Soalnya rule di Indonesia itu kan semua S1 yang lulus tuh harus publish skripsi. And ini udah the discourse whether apakah semua lulusan S1 harus publish skripsi itu kan udah lama diperdebatin juga gitu. Does all major need to have skripsi, to have scientific like journal for example? And tapi nggak tahu ya, sekarang mungkin peraturan dia berubah. Soalnya kurikulum kan lagi banyak yang diupdate juga.
Because I was and of course like we went to university in the States, but in the States like I was a business student. I didn't have to do a thesis. Do business students here have to do thesis?
Nah, gue nggak tahu. Tapi setahu gue kalau misalnya di Indonesia in general tuh skripsi tuh harus gitu.
For every concentration and major?
Kok nggak salah ya, tapi kok nggak salah sekarang lagi di-update, gue nggak tahu ya progressnya.
Well, fact check.
Yeah. Tapi karena itu, jadi kan misalnya jadi dosen tuh kayak kerjaannya banyak banget, especially kayak kurikulum lagi di-update, mereka harus ini itu gitu. And then ada isu kesejahteraan guru juga, and things like that, right? Jadi sometimes I'm not paid enough for this kind of thing. Jadi ada itu tuh kan, when students mereka tuh kesusahan nulis skripsi, dosen pembimbingnya susah di kontak, akhirnya mereka lari ke joki to ask for help. Because kalau enggak skripsi mereka they will tank, and mereka nggak akan graduate. Terus habis itu ada orang tua yang nuntut apa segala gitu. Terus ada juga yang kayak terlalu emphasize hasil ya, result oriented. Yang dimana kayak banyak pendidikan kita tuh we're not taught the joy of learning atau kayak the joy of process or the value of process. Kayak value proses belajarnya itu yang valuable dari edukasi. Kita kenapa kuliah atau sekolah? Ya untuk belajar gitu kan, untuk nimba ilmu, bukan untuk dapat gelar. And I think this is why there's that saying yang IPK hanya angka gitu kan, atau kayak oh ya yang pinter di sekolah belum tentu pinter di dunia nyata. You know those saying. And I think it's because for them kayak oh ya dapat nilai bagus ya dapat nilai bagus aja, kayak lu kan ngafalin gitu, atau misalnya lu jago lu beli joki atau apa segala gitu. Padahal kan there's again kayak earning that score, earning that degree, earning kayak lulusannya itu. Jadi ada banyak lah sebenarnya kayak yang structural, cause we have to admit right, kayak perjokian ini kan banyak karena ada demand ya. Kayak there won't be a supply without demand. But what created the demand?
What facilitated the demand?
Amplified, facilitate, incentivize the demand. Pasti ada isu-isu struktural yang kayak tadi, yang and then ada banyak juga yang bilang kayak tugas-tugas sekolah itu banyak yang nggak masuk akal, or things that they don't feel like it's edifying for their studies. Therefore they're like, I better concentrate on something else. Ini joki aja deh, I don't see the value in this. Ada juga mungkin aspek itu. Nah tapi again we cannot deny the fact yang kayak tadi yang data Kemendikbud, like 30%, almost 30% of them said they do it because they're lazy.
Were there further breakdowns of that data? So that's 30%. What about the remaining 70?
Jadi
lazy, and then
so like ini cuman dikasih lihatnya empat. Yang paling pertama tuh yang kayak almost 50% tuh katanya kewalahan, tugas menumpuk. So there's too many, they're overwhelmed, there's too many homework, things like that. And then the second is malas, so that's like almost 30%. And then kesulitan, almost 30%. I think that's related to dosen pembimbingnya susah dikontak. Skripsi is hard, right?
Very,
Jadi kayak kadang ya susah apa segala, and then there's pressure, things like that. And then yang paling terakhir tuh kerja, because a lot of students they work while they go to university. Because they need to earn to be able to afford the education. Nah, tapi ya again, can't deny the fact that there's banyak banget yang artinya kan kalau misalnya ada jalan pintas, if there's a shortcut, it's very tempting to take that. Especially if you don't see the value of learning, of hard work, of like struggling to get your skripsi done. And I think kayak misalnya contohnya ada yang bilang gini ke gue juga, kayak tadi tuh dia sungguh-sungguh banget ngerjain skripsi ya.
Their own skripsi,
iya. Their own skripsi. Tapi abis itu dia sungguh-sungguh struggle. Tapi abis itu dia ngeliat temennya main-main doang, tapi dapat nilai bagus soalnya dia ngejoki. And dia dapat jelek, padahal dia jujur.
Oh damn,
And then ada juga yang kayak dia sungguh-sungguh, terus tiba-tiba pas di sidang ada dosennya yang minta nama dosennya dicantumin di hasil riset, padahal nggak ngebantuin dia gitu. And itu kayak praktek-praktek korupsi yang kayak gitu tuh it really discourages honesty and a lot of people.
Oh, of course, There's never been a social incentive for honesty and integrity.
Benar,
It's pretty much the root of it. And you know, when you want to talk about corruption, I saw you got a lot of heat. Well, a lot of people that were airing this opinion, like a lot of people were getting a lot of heat, not just you, where comparing this to basically connecting this issue with the issue of corruption as well, and why corruption is so prevalent in Indonesia, and it's such a rampant, it's such a pervasive issue, right? And how people can't seem to see the connection, like how it all starts with the little things, right? If I can't even rely on you to demonstrate integrity within an academic setting, what makes you think that I trust you to show integrity once you are put in positions of power and authority, right? And so it all starts, a lot of things start at the academic level, right? It starts at the school.
Of course. I mean, when you're okay with bending the rules a little bit and rationalizing it, and even don't see anything wrong with it,
Yeah.
you won't see anything wrong with bending the rules and taking a little bit of advantage just because you have a little bit of money once you work. That's just a natural progression. It's a character issue. It's an integrity issue, like you
Right,
said.
yeah.
And you don't see any value in
Right.
being honest and be in merit and actually delivering what you need to deliver and not
Yeah.
like...
Yeah, but again, it's also a systemic issue because the system doesn't even incentivize you to have all of
Exactly.
these qualities of being honest and, you know, like earning things for yourself. And the system very much awards it. That's the thing that I commented on your video, right? This is what happens when we prioritize the destination over the route that we take to that destination. In real life, things like integrity, honesty, resilience, perseverance, like these are intangible skills and qualities of a person's character that matters. And it's what's going to see to it that you get through life, right? But you know, we don't exist in a society that rewards those qualities. We are very much, like you said, a society that is very much result oriented, right? It doesn't matter what route and what detours I have to take as long as I get to the final destination. So there's also a lot, you know, when you talk about systemic issues, and this was the thing that I was drilling about on Twitter when I was getting involved in all of this, is that systemic issues also require actions from the individual, right?
Yeah.
We, all of us, in big ways or small ways, like we have a part to play in all of this, in shaping the culture.
Yeah, and I mean, two things can exist at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a systemic issue and you can also have a personal responsibility
Mm-hmm.
that contributes, and it's a feedback loop, right? So the thing that I realize is that there's a lot of misconception or misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And the first, I guess the main reason why a lot of it is normalized and why a lot of people don't see it to be wrong or fraud or things like that is because it's structurally normalized from the teacher, from the institution, from their parents. So like early on even, there's usually parents would tell, for example, kakak kerjain PR adik dong gitu. You know, like when you're the little brother, little sister have
Right.
difficulty or have a class assignment, yang disuruh kerjain tuh kakaknya gitu.
Yeah.
And bahkan I found ada joki tugas SD.
Elementary school
Joki yang untuk kayak gambar apa, you know, things like that. And usually
No fucking way,
and
man.
usually yang hire joki itu tuh orang tuanya,
yeah.
not the student themselves.
I've even heard instances of where people that there's this one friend that told me the story of how they used to be a jockey, and when their family found out about it, this person was expecting their family to basically like call them out for it, like,
Yeah.
oh, how could you, like that's very shameful and everything. Instead, their family was just like, oh yeah, no, it's fine, go for it.
Yeah,
Right?
so imagine, right? You grew up in that house, in that kind of household, in that kind of environment, and then you go to school or university, and then your teacher is the one who recommended joki. Kayak ya supaya kamu tugasnya cepat selesai terus supaya dapat nilai bagus. Nih ada rekomendasi bisa untuk ini apa segala.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you graduate and then you see in the workplace people getting into jobs because they're orda, orang dalam,
Yep.
or because
Right.
they know like they have the right connection, things like that.
Yeah. No, because this habit, of course, like this habit doesn't just end at you graduating high school or college.
No.
Like that habit sticks with you throughout the entire life. This is the thing that I nearly forgot to mention. Discipline. This all very much relates to the topic of discipline, right? Like the idea of earning something by myself, working for something by myself, for myself. Well, maybe not for myself, but this idea of like putting in the effort, putting in the time and the energy to hone my craft. Wow, that smells so good. To hone my craft and to pursue results like by my own merit. That requires an insane amount of discipline, right?
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
It's hard. And people, that's the thing. A lot of people they don't want to do the hard
no,
thing.
again, but imagine you, right, working hard, trying
Yeah.
to earn your place, things like that, and then
Right.
you look around you,
Yeah.
and everyone is ahead with easier means,
Yep.
just because they have a little bit of money,
Right.
and they spend it that
Right.
way.
And just because they're a little bit morally corrupt.
Exactly, and then
Yeah.
you look at the highest, for example, leaders
Right.
in the country,
Right.
the government, for example, like a lot of them use joki as well to gain gelar,
Right.
S3, jadi guru, and things like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them also practice corruption, nepotism, and things like that. And you
Yeah.
think like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Or not even what's the point.
Right.
You think that, oh, this is the norm. Like, that's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're super shocked when somebody said, yang joki tuh haram gitu misalnya, atau joki tuh nipu gitu. They're like,
Right.
what?
Right.
My parents told me to joki. My teacher told me to joki. Masa itu nipu?
I mean, if your parents also told you to copet, yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, but you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do, I
When
do.
there's that structural cultural thing. Jadi the first thing is I realized that, and another thing is I realized that a lot of people don't see that joki is nipu or fraud. It's because they only see it as a client and
The
seller
Yeah.
relationship thing.
Yeah, client and provider type of
Client and provider relationship, where as long as I give my client what they ask and my client give me what we agreed on, then there's no fraud involved, right?
Right.
But they miss the point that what they're doing is they're cooperating to commit fraud on the academic institution.
Yeah.
Itu nggak kesana gitu.
Right, but it's also you're corrupting the fabric of societies, of the fabric of our
Yeah.
societal
And
integrity.
a lot of I feel like a lot of them, and especially since they're still students, right? They're still in school.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't think that far ahead anyway.
Right.
Because they're there to learn.
Yeah. No, and I will concede to one thing is that people like you and me, we have the ability to think. To think like this, to consider the greater moral and ethical implications that this perjokian culture has, because of our financial privilege, right? Like there are people
And educational
and-
privilege too.
Oh, 100%. Well, yeah, you need financial privilege in order to have
Yeah,
educational
yeah.
privilege. And that's the thing I can sympathize with. I will not validate it. I will not
no.
justify it, but I sympathize with the people that say, "Hey man, some of us are just we're struggling here, man. Like we're too poor to even think about any of this." And that is true. Right?
Yeah.
And when you consider the majority of Indonesians that are kind of like pinching pennies and like, living paycheck to paycheck, like it does force you to be a little bit more sympathetic when talking about this.
Totally. Again, for example, for those who provide the contract cheering or jockey services, if they, and we haven't touched upon that. I feel like all this time we've been talking about like the one who hires them, right? Like
Yeah.
their reason, things like that, and the reason behind. And there is a structural reason on why there's a huge demand and why there's like such a huge incentive on that part. And I'm not saying what we touched upon is the whole picture. I'm sure there are other like things that cause that.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, for those who provide jasa joki, obviously there are some opportunists, people who see an opportunity, huge demand, wanted to make a lot of money and do it. But there's also those who provide it because they need to earn money to be able to still hire the education, to be able to give money to their parents, things like that. Like karena kemiskinan juga gitu, kemiskinan struktural atau kayak economic reason. And I can totally sympathize and empathize with that. Bisa paham.
Right.
Tapi paham bukan berarti maklumin juga gitu kan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still fraud.
Right.
Cuman we can understand where they're coming from.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Nah, tapi kalau yang udah PT, yang udah korporasi, yeah, they're not doing it because there's an economic need. They're doing it to make a multi-million rupiah conglomeration, and they're perpetuating kayak this culture and this demand by marketing, because they hire like top tier influencers to like influence people to use their services and things like that.
Yep. I saw that. that went all over Twitter. One of them happens to be not a friend. I wouldn't really say we're friends, but definitely an acquaintance. So that was really awkward. And here's the thing too. What I wanted to talk about is y'all are gonna have to excuse me in this episode and the one with Putri Tanjung as well, because like it's filmed in the week that I'm having my period, and so I'm having period brain. I'm so sorry, guys. But I wanted to talk about how at the same time I think we need, number one, say the quiet parts out loud, but also like we need to start giving people the brutal and honest truth, right? There are a lot of people that are making the argument that, a lot of these people that, let's talk about the people that are providing all of these, like they're supplying perjokian, yeah? There are a lot of people that are making the argument, well, like, it's because I don't have any, like, they don't have any other choice. Like, you know, what other options do we have in order to make money that's going to, you know, put food on my family's table and put my little siblings, like, through school? And the thing that a lot of people, I feel like deep down, like, y'all know this, but y'all just don't want to admit it, because admitting it means that you're going to have to take accountability, is that there are a lot of options for you to make money in a way that is jujur, yang tetap jujur. Right? I saw you made a tweet about that earlier today as well. Things like, I mean, shit, content creation.
Yeah.
Content creation, personal assisting, tutoring rich kids.
Yeah, bimbel, you know, kayak bimbel bimbingan belajar. So
yeah.
instead of doing the work for them, you teach them.
Teach them, yeah. Basically a tutor.
A tutor,
right?
yeah.
I mean, fuck it, like service jobs, like customer service or waitressing
Or freelance
or bartending.
copywriter. You can even get clients internationally and pay in dollars.
That's everybody.
Maybe.
Like, y'all can't tell me that there are people out there that are dead ass just not good at anything. Everybody is good.
No, and the thing is, joki are usually smart.
Yeah.
Joki are smart.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying, like, you got options.
Yeah.
Miss Girl, you got options. Like,
They
you
have
could-
skill. They have math skills, and they're usually smart.
Exactly. You just, this is the thing, like, why a lot of people are feeling a little bit called out by this whole conversation that you sparked, right? Is because, like, people don't, it's not that they're hiding under the guise of, I don't have any other choice but to do this. Like, no, in reality you do. This is just the easier choice because you're, I'm sorry, lazy to pursue other alternatives.
Yeah, and because the demand is really big.
And the demand is really, the demand is really
That
big.
is perpetuated, obviously, by like a
yeah.
lot of things. But yeah, I totally agree. There's an element of integrity and personal accountability that needs to go into this. And again, you know, like people who provide these jockey services, if they're not smart, they won't be able to provide these jockey services. They're usually smart. They're good with time management. They're good at writing, research.
You got skills. You're just redirecting. You're directing your skills towards an area that is not.
And again, like I feel like other people are better equipped to say this or talk about this issue, but I've seen a lot of people who spoke out online that says like it's really unfair, and yeah, it's really unfair when you say like, just because this person is not privileged enough, that person, like, it's more understandable that they resort to less integrity, like they have a less integrity and they're more prone to doing, you know, like work that is not legal type of thing.
As in to say, like, some people are making the argument that being poor justifies you taking.
No, it's like saying, we need to, just because somebody is less privileged, we need to maklumin mereka tuh begini-gini, but that's kind of insulting in a sense.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because there's a lot of integrity filled and really really good people who are not as privileged juga gitu. And we can't, again, kayak totally understand where they're coming from, but it's still fraud.
Yeah, no, and correct what you said about it being insulting, because the voices that are being kind of washed out in this discussion are the voices of people on Twitter. Like, you even see it in the comments of like, hey, hold on a minute, I'm poor, I don't come from a socio-economically privileged background, but I have integrity. Yeah, exactly.
And not to mention, a lot of these joki are not poor, they're PT corporations.
Oh yeah,
employees of that corporation.
Like, girl, you had money,
you know, like so it's not exclusively like like a hustle that people with who are
Right.
economically disadvantaged do.
Yeah.
Kayak there are huge corporation in this area, and again also like in this whole perjokian, like we need to remember also usually people who use the jockey services are those with money, come from middle upper class. They get to pay
Yeah.
people to do their work, and that people like by, for example, this jockey helping these really lazy, irresponsible, rich kids get their diploma without earning it and without gaining the
Yeah.
relevant skill and knowledge.
Right.
That person will have a diploma, and that diploma will get them into a good job, and that good job will give them authority for them to dictate a lot of stuff, and that will feed back again to a lot of things that are happening in this country.
Right. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back and affect you in one way or another
Yeah.
somewhere like down the line.
Like I think like right now a lot of people are starting, like just the recent data leak, right? And a lot of people are pointing out like, are those who are leading us do really have the competency to lead this nation? Are those leading us really have the relevant knowledge to lead this nation? And by allowing these non-competent people to graduate, to gain a degree S1, S2, S3, dapat akreditasi, things like that, tanpa belajar, you're creating more of these people,
Yup.
these privileged people that will occupy a lot of high places, but without the relevant skills.
Yeah.
And these people are gonna create laws, are gonna be our doctor,
Right.
are gonna be your architect,
Yup.
are gonna be your engineer who built your bridges that your car will go through. Like,
Yep.
imagine the quality of people, and people always say SDM rendah, SDM rendah. Kita semua tuh SDM rendah pas lahir, kita nggak bisa apa-apa.
Right.
Tapi kan itu kita ke sekolah, kita belajar untuk ningkatin kualitas. Ya tapi kalau misalnya proses belajarnya di bypass, pas graduate ya tetap SDM rendah dong.
Yeah. We'll just stay where we are.
Nah tapi dia punya diploma sekarang dan
Yeah.
dia bisa dapat kerjaan, posisi, dapat respect, bisa punya karyawan misalnya atau apa segala, bisa ngumpulin banyak uang. Tapi padahal akreditasi kayak kompetensinya 0. Dan kita kan sekarang udah kerasa gitu loh, gimana rasanya misalnya dipimpin sama pemimpin yang mungkin skillnya kurang atau misalnya apa kayak dengan data leaks apa segala gitu. Ini kan perjokian ini kontribusi ke sana bisa.
Yeah. People are not realizing the way that this is feeding into a greater problem
And
for
again,
everybody.
gue ngerti banget maksudnya kayak ini susah lah kita tiap kali ngeliatin isu tuh mikirin long term struktural yang sampai ke nationwide apa segala gitu. Kadang kan kayak ya udah nih kak, gue pengen lulus aja nih, stres nih apa segala gitu ya. Tapi tetap aja kayak kita sekolah kuliah di dunia akademi itu tuh ada tugas, ada proses belajar. Itu tuh for a reason, to be a functioning member of society. Ya kalau misalnya itu proses di bypass, lu nggak bisa jockey your way through your entire life without breaking a lot of assignments and kayak nggak bisa kayak without having any consequences. Kayak misalnya bayangin aja kayak tiba-tiba lu sakit, terus dokter lu tuh ngejoki gitu.
Yup.
Emangnya mau?
Yeah.
Iya kan itu kacau gitu loh, atau misalnya yang bangun rumah lu gitu, arsiteknya ternyata ngejoki, jadi dia nggak punya the relevant mathematical skill or apalah gitu, atau kayak civil engineer gitu. Ya itu kan nge-feedback lagi ke quality of life kita, SDM-nya apa segala.
Right.
Terus gimana Indonesia mau maju, sektor industri mau develop, punya ada inovasi, mau keep up sama the global competition kalau misalnya orang-orangnya pada banyak yang ngejoki nih gitu, dan mereka yang ngejoki dapat posisi-posisi strategis.
Yeah. Like people, I think this is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people that have ever been involved in the supply side of perjokian, is that you are ultimately giving access to the very people that you complain about in government, like incompetent leaders.
And will probably kayak keep making the world you live in like not a really nice place to live in gitu.
No, and I know, this whole conversation is like, everybody wants to talk about like, we have to dismantle the system, right? And like, yes, of course, like we have to dismantle the system, we have to change the system. I think it's just very hard for people to realize that changing systemic issues also again require individual actions. Like you want to change a system, you're not going to change it overnight. Rome is not built overnight, right? But it does start with our individual behaviors and our individual mindsets, and that's like the hardest to change. And it's so hard because Indonesian society, like I said, I think I said this already, I did, right? Where we're so used, I think part of it is also that our labor market is quite what's the nice way of saying this, like low cost, as in to say it's very low cost here in Indonesia for you to pay people to do everything, literally everything for you. The whole like getting a driver's license, or even just like bureaucratic, like filling out government documents, right? Like ada jasa-jasa where it's like you basically ujung-ujungnya joki, karena it's like the businesses that will pay other companies to basically like fill out paperwork for you, or like speed up a government process for you. Like for example, if you like just give them a little extra money, like all of that is very hard to dismantle, but it does. And people probably don't want to hear this, and people probably call me naive, but it does start with you not using those services.
Yeah.
To some extent, but at the same time,
paham.
At the same time, I sympathize because
Paham, tapi kan yang contoh-contoh yang lu kasih tadi, it's prompted because the system is corrupt, and people need ordal to go around it. And I mean, I'm not saying the academia world in Indonesia is squeaky clean as well.
Oh yeah.
Jadi pasti ada main-mainnya juga lah. Nah makanya, jadi I do agree with you. There's always two sides of the same. There's always two sides for every topic, right? Yeah. The systemic one and the individual responsibility as well. The top-bottom approach and then the bottom-up approach. Let's say di edukasi Indonesia itu kan banyak banget yang masih kurang, yang kayak tadi lah, kayak sistem yang masih terlalu result oriented, yang and then terlalu yang nggak terlalu belum terlalu hargain academic rigor. Jadi misalnya gini, bayangin ada profesor yang dia ngelakuin riset di Indonesia selama 3 tahun, let's say. Selama 3 tahun dia riset, habis itu akhirnya dia publish 1 journal. Tapi itu well researched, peer reviewed, high quality. And then there's another professor yang dia pakai joki, jadi setiap tahun dia rilis 10 jurnal. Selama 3 tahun akhirnya 30 jurnal. Tapi itu isinya abal-abal lah. Yang mana yang lebih di-appreciate di Indonesia?
Whichever one basically has the fancier title, I suppose.
Yang lebih banyak ya, udah publikasi 30 jurnal nih. Lebih ke angka. Jadi kayak di sini emang
prestige, right?
It's like, not even that, kayak quantity over quality. To a certain extent in academia masih ada banyak yang kayak gitu ya.
Because quantity
ya jadi kan dilihatnya cuman udah publish 30 jurnal nih, oke nih apa gitu, daripada 1 kok kamu 3 tahun cuman publikasi 1 sih.
Because quantity in this context, in a lot of people's minds, they interpret it as prestige, I think.
Bisa, atau kayak productive or I don't know. Jadi kayak there are things like that gitu, yang dimana emang akhirnya tuh it disincentivize like rigor and quality and things like that. Ya, jadi tentunya ada yang structural yang kayak begitu-gitunya gitu. And until that is fixed, and yang harus benerin itu tuh harus orang yang berwenang dari atas ke bawah gitu kan. Harus yang punya wewenang untuk ganti sistemnya, untuk bikin peraturan, untuk negakin hukum. Until that system yang incentivize a lot of these demands are fixed, the demand will keep happening. But at the same time, kalau itu semua udah dibenerin, sistemnya udah bener, guru sejahtera, profesor digaji layak, kurikulum oke, penegakan hukum oke, apa segala gitu, tentu angka perjokian akan turun. Tapi kalau misalnya sisi muridnya atau sisi orang yang mau pakai jasa joki masih mentalnya kayak pengen shortcut apa segala, they will find a loophole. They will find it.
Exactly. That's why, yes, you're correct, and I agree with you. I think it's not just having a top to bottom approach, but you need to have both happening
Yeah,
simultaneously.
simultaneous, and that's why it's hard sometimes for a systemic change, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
But of course, I do think like once like the top bottom like the systemic change happen, I think it will create a better incentive for the individuals to change.
So you're asserting that it needs to be heavier on the top to bottom approach for the time being.
I think it's more effective that way. Cuman kan sekarang obviously kita bukan orang yang punya wewenang.
Yes.
Tapi the thing about Indonesia again, usually the top to bottom approach atau kayak pergantian regulasi atau kayak policy are motivated by market based demand. Viral based policy kan. Nah, jadi sebenarnya juga kalau misalnya ada resistance, ada calling out yang gede yang create political will, incentive, blah blah, I don't know. Itu mungkin bisa nge-encourage yang orang yang punya wewenang untuk betulin juga sistemnya gitu. Mungkin itu there's that one dimension. On the other dimension, I feel like the thing yang I am criticizing, ini kan perjokian tuh ada macam-macam layer ya.
Yeah.
And it's multifaceted obviously. Tapi yang satu hal yang gua emphasize itu kan betapa dinormalisasi dan terang-terangannya pemakaian ini, like how normalized and how blatantly obvious people are promoting it, are boasting about it, things like that. So I feel like what the people can do is to create a social disincentive, so that at the very least, when these people are still doing it, first they know it's wrong. So they're willfully doing it even though they know it's wrong. It's their choice. And then secondly, they do it in secret at least.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like if you are going
Diam-diam
to,
aja,
yeah,
ada rasa malunya gitu.
if you know that what you're doing is bad, right? If you know objectively like what you're doing is bad and that in a way it's shameful,
Yeah.
at least don't be out here promoting it and trying to justify it and validate it,
Yeah.
especially promoting it, right?
Dan ini juga ke yang pakai jasa ya, ada banyak yang kayak pamer ke teman-teman, they're like, lu mah ngapain susah-susah nih, gue bisa bayar joki. Jadi
Yeah.
people, you know how like a lot of people they flex like their wealth through like buying bags and cars, and like a lot of students flex their wealth by using jasa joki. That's how insane it is. Jadi maksudnya at the very least, if we
Yeah.
change the narrative like
Yep.
here, itunya nggak ada gitu.
And that's the bottom. That's the
Bottom
approach.
up. Yeah. I know it's not the magic bullet, like silver bullet solution. Of course not.
Yeah, of
Kayak until the structural issue is fixed, ini nggak akan hilang.
Yeah.
But at the very least, nggak bisa dibangga-banggain dan nggak bisa
Yeah.
terlalu out in the open.
I was thinking about that one post that you made. I remember you posted it on your Instagram. You had that one post. I think it was from like around the time of Pemilu, yeah. That one post where you were talking about how if you want to judging a society, if you want to
Yeah.
judge the quality of a society, judge it by what society is praising.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Like, am I?
Yeah.
Right.
I said, if you wanna judge a society, you can see what things they praise, what things they incentivize with
Yeah.
money, fame, and subscribe,
Yeah.
whatever, and what
Exactly.
things they punish,
Yeah.
what things they let slide,
Right.
and what thing they are highly triggered by.
Yep.
What kind of people are seen as amazing, and what kind of people seen as apaan sih gitu.
Yeah.
You can totally see that. Yeah.
No, yeah. And see, this is why mindset of the individual can affect the mindset of many, and everything it starts with mindset, right? There also needs to be, I think, a cultural reform, a cultural like shift in like our mentality when it comes to I sound like a broken record, but really what I keep thinking about is merit, right? Like that was the thing. I wrote about this in my book. One of the things that I noticed when I moved to the States, and I know people are gonna hate this part so fucking much because I sound like I'm like glorifying America and everything, and like by no means am I doing that, right? America as a country, as a government, has a lot of horrible things that I do not condone and I do not praise, right? But let's take a step back here. I'm not talking about America necessarily like in terms of like its governance and like its government, right? I'm talking about the people of America. Say what you want about America, but when it comes to Americans, they're some of the hardest working people that I have ever met. And when I moved to America, the one thing that really stood out is the appreciation for hard work, for honest hard work. It doesn't matter what your status is, how much money you have, like what position you're in. You could be a janitor, and people in America, a lot of people in America, they treat that job with, they have respect for that job. And it's not just like because they want to be PC about it. Like, no, they respect like how it's such hard work that nobody wants to do, but hey, it's honest work, right? And I keep thinking it's literally the little things. And I know this might, for the people that are listening to this, like y'all probably kind of like, wait, why the fuck are you talking about your single mother? But like, I swear I have a point. I'm getting somewhere with this. It's the simple things like when I tell people that I have a single mom, I don't have a dad, right? And me growing up here, my mom used to always tell me like, hey, do not let people know. Like this was like way early, like elementary, middle school, right? Do not let people know that you don't have a dad, because other people are going to judge you for it. They're gonna think immediately, like the number one thing is that if you come from like a broken home, you don't have a dad, like usually the stereotype is like, oh, like you must be poor, like stuff like that. But also like it's a lot of negative attributes that they're going to associate with me, and then like thereby associate with you as well, like all that type of stuff, right? Irregardless of the fact that like my mom is somebody who works very hard, and like she's made her way, like she's earned things for herself, like udah kaya what's the term in Indonesian? Banting tulang, to get to a place in life where she's able to afford a good life for herself and her child, and all that type of stuff. But she always urged me like, hey, like do not let people know that, because it doesn't matter how much it doesn't matter the quality and the quality of my character and my merit. It's just always going to be overshadowed by the fact that, oh, I'm a single mom, I don't have a husband, I had a child out of wedlock, stuff like that, right? Come to America, and this is a true experience for me when I tell people, Indonesia kind of still has that attitude of like, if you tell people that like I don't have a dad, like my mom's a single mom kayak gitu, like there's still that like that taboo stigmanya kayak gitu. Completely different when you go to certain societies like America, for example. The number one thing that I immediately noticed when people were like talking about family and all that, I mentioned to people that, oh yeah, no, my mom's a single mom, I've never met my dad, it was always been me and my mom from the very beginning. The number one thing a lot of people in America, like the first thing they'll say is, wow, she works so hard, and that's very, I commend your mother for that.
I think that's the concept of earning again.
Yeah, exactly. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your background, your marriage status, your socioeconomic. Like it's not even the fact that like my mom is like a very, my mom's very lucky, because usually I acknowledge how single parenthood is very hard, and most of the time with single parenthood, like it tends to correlate with socioeconomic turbulence, right? But in my case, I'm socioeconomic, like I'm very, very well off. It's not even just the fact that like you're a single mom and like she's rich as shit, right? But it's the fact that like, it wouldn't even matter if you were like, middle class, or like you're struggling, but just the fact that like your mother works so hard and she works an honest job like to provide you with a good quality life. Like that's something that in the eyes of a lot of people, it's in my experience, like back in America, people really venerated, whereas like over here, even the smallest things, it's the little things, right? So you see where I'm going with this, right?
It's more towards like, again, like there's an emphasis on process as opposed to label. And I feel like here it's still very much in the no appreciation or a lack of appreciation towards process, earning something of value, and very, very much a big emphasis on label, on status, on basically
superficial shit.
It's not even that. I feel like it's a simplification it's a simplification signal. Like, you know, like you use that label to kind of give you a signal that simplifies the world or simplifies how you can categorize a person. So instead, I feel like when you see a person through their process, it's a very nuanced and difficult way of like appraising someone or valuing someone, because then you need to understand their struggle and what they do and their hard work. But if you only judge them based on their label, it's very quick.
Right.
And
Because
it's easier and
again,
more simple.
when you judge a person through the process and through their experiences and through the hurdles that they have had to jump over, it humanizes them as well, right? I'm so sorry, but let's not pretend like Indonesian society humanizes people, let's say janitors.
Yeah.
Like what are they called? Sorry, trash pickers, right? The people that pick up, trash pickers. Even fucking like service workers, like waitresses or bartenders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because when you,
I think that here's the difference. In America, it's an appreciation of hard work, whereas here, I think it's more towards sopan santun. So I think when you're nice to someone in America, it's because you appreciate them. For example, like, oh yeah, you're doing honest work here, like you're hustling kind of thing.
Yeah.
But here, it's more towards kita harus sopan santun ke semuanya gitu.
and it's results. Like that's the thing. This isn't exclusive to just
To-ish,
Indonesia. This is a very Asian
And
Eastern Eastern value. This is a
And
very Eastern value.
I do think in America, I think the valuing hard work and like struggling, you know, like doesn't matter where you come from, you can still achieve. It very much plays into their individualistic traits, where they value individual merit, individual struggle, individual dream.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's very much communal, and I think that's why a lot of people, that told me, and they end up helping. They end up doing the joki jasa things like. They started because their friends asked for their help, and mereka nggak enak, mereka kasihan, mereka pengen bantu, and that's why I do believe a lot of these individual, not corporation, individual joki, they have good intention. I totally believe that. Mereka pengen bantu temennya, mereka ngeliat temennya struggling, kasihan, things like that, and that's the communal. Culture talking, right? You wanna help your friend out, things like that. But that's still, when you see it only in like short term, sure, it gives you a nice feeling, it makes both of you happy and things like that. But when we live in a society that has very, very intricate social structure, when you deal with academia, you cannot only view things from a short-term perspective. You need to see it from a national, long-term perspective of what kind of thing you're perpetuating. I feel like Indonesians, they're collectivistic, but they're not collectivistic in the sense collectivistic for the entire nation. They're collectivistic for their gang or their tribe. Their tribe, their friends, their family, themselves, you know. And they're collectivistic kind of in a short-term paradigm, and so like I'm gonna help my friend short-term to pass this grade kind of thing.
Right.
But they don't think collectivistic in terms of a nation long-term.
Right.
And what end up happening is this collectivistic tendency end up making them super selfish.
Yeah.
And super very much based on self-interest. You know, like, and that's also the thing with corruption. Like a lot of people, like I have a friend who was an ex-investigator in KPK, you know, the Corruption Eradication Commission, and he said that a lot of corruptors, they genuinely believe that they are corrupting the money of the state for the well-being of their family.
They think they Robin Hood. Wait, what?
For their family, you know, supaya anak saya bisa kuliah di kuliah yang bagus, supaya istri saya senang, you know, things like that, you know. So it's
kind of like Robin Hood.
I would argue it's not Robin Hood. It's just,
well, actually no. Robin Hood was for everybody else.
Everybody, it's for their tribe. It's for their tribe. It's for the.
That's just corruption.
Benar, yeah, exactly.
Selfish corruption.
Exactly. But that's like, I would argue that's a very human instinct to put your tribe first
and put yourself first. Yeah.
Put yourself, put your tribe first. Provide for your family. That's a very human instinct, and that's why we need education.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to eradicate poverty as well. You know,
Yeah.
things like that, so that people can be taught and have the capacity to think
Yeah.
about bigger things. Because kalau nggak tuh ya udah jadi gitu, ngegeng aja. And if I were to argue, I feel like every single culture have their cultural DNA, like something that encapsulates like their culture really well.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, I would argue that the Indonesian cultural DNA is the ngegeng itu siapa? I don't know what you call it, like
Tribalism?
tribalism. It's like yang ngegeng sih. We have a lot of gangs too.
Tribalism.
Gang ormas, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Itu sangat kental. And maksudnya it's not in a sense kayak preman gitu ya, but like putting my tribe first and providing first
Right.
and like, you know,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right, but if people could learn how to like, again, like the thing with like long-term thinking, if people can think of like, okay, yes, despite my current socio-economic struggle, what culture am I creating that my future child and their future children
Again,
are going to inherit? But I guess
Again,
I
I
understand
feel like-
that's a
yeah.
little bit too far, right?
And it's not fair. I feel again, it's not fair to put that kind of burden to those again who are doing this out of economic needs. I would much argue like those people who have money, who are turning this into a corporation, like they're probably thinking, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this to give my employee salary or to feed my family. You know, this is my business, this is my hustle. But yeah, if they can think about like the long-term effect
I mean, I guess
of the entire the nation as a whole. And again, you know, like I feel like we've been talking about this jockey thing for a while, and I feel like I need to explicitly say that I'm not really arguing this from a moral standpoint, in a sense like, oh, you shouldn't do jockey or you shouldn't do contract cheating because it's morally wrong. Because I feel like people have their own morals, and when different circumstances can prompt at different types of moral and people, and that's like another philosophical argument.
Yeah.
That's a different topic.
Yeah.
But I'm arguing this like this is bad and should be avoided from a consequential standpoint. Like when this is perpetuated, when this is normalized, once this is the culture, there's real serious ramification that we're gonna face
Yeah.
as a nation, and we're already feeling it right now.
Yeah.
We're already feeling.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's just
because
Again.
we're letting incompetent people get away
yeah.
with high positions.
But would you argue that the group of people that, no matter how
I would
financially
argue- yeah.
destitute you are,
It-
you
it
have
doesn't-
options.
It doesn't turn what they're doing into something that is not fraud, for example, or
Yeah.
make it any better. Of course not. But again, like I can understand when they're coming from, and
Yes.
I can empathize.
Yes.
Bisa dimaklumin.
Yes. But you
Bukan
don't
dimaklumin,
ju-
bisa dipahamin,
Tapi
tapi
nggak
tetap nggak
dimaklumin.
dimaklumin. Kayak it doesn't make it permissible. It doesn't excuse them from blatantly publicizing it online
Yeah.
and talking about it and saying that this is something yang kayak jasa yang normal and things like that. Enggak gitu. Again, kayak misalnya ada kayak there's a lot of cases of like maling gitu ya. Maling yang karena terpaksa.
Yeah.
Tapi mereka kan enggak abis maling post di social media. Hey, gue abis maling nih, kan enggak gitu. Ngerti nggak sih?
Nggak dimasukin ke CV anjing.
Iya,
Yeah.
ngerti kan? Maksudnya kayak I understand that you need to do that act because there's economic needs. Tapi dia tahu gitu it's wrong. Nah ini bedanya with this, there's a lot of people who do that but they think it's not wrong,
Yeah.
and they publicize it and they're creating this culture yang gitu. So they're contributing in that way, but
Yep.
I won't put the main blame on them.
The burden of the responsibility is not
on
heaviest on them. Yes, that I agree.
That's why I don't really, yeah, makanya again, I feel like those people won't turn to jockey if it's not as high in demand anyway. They get to provide for their family, they get to make money out of jockey because there's so huge of a demand. Yeah dong.
But there's a huge demand for
Apa?
jockey is not the only thing that is high in demand. How is it?
I guess kayak the demand is that big sampai bisa ada PT perjokian multiple. And also because people are proudly advertising this out in the open, they're flexing this, and they think it's not wrong.
But I would think, I understand that the demand for perjokian is very high. The demand is very high for perjokian, but that doesn't mean that other things don't have high demand as well. I think
true.
it's right.
Tapi gini, imagine if, dan banyak yang ngomong gini juga, kayak banyak yang bilang, kenapa nggak jadi tutor aja, right? Because kebanyakan they started as tutor, tapi itu kliennya bilang, udah deh kerjain aja, gue tambahin nih duitnya, ini nggak sih?
Yeah.
If, for example, people still value merit, people still value the process of learning, ya demandnya pasti nggak akan segede itu, and people nggak akan push some of these people towards the gray area of that gitu. Itu that's anyway. Again, tapi and then I want to emphasize on the professors and teachers as well, because I think they play a huge role, because a lot of these kids got introduced to joki from their professors, and a lot of the professors are the ones doing the joki.
Yeah, but
That itu, oh my gosh.
yeah, and it's horrible, but at the same time, with the information that I know about what it's like to be a teacher here in Indonesia, I cannot help but sympathize. I do
Exactly.
not like
Exactly.
Yeah, we do not validate it, and we do not justify, but I understand why you did what you did, because if you know anything about what it's like to be a teacher in Indonesia, my goodness, the pay is so utterly dog shit.
Exactly, that's why I
Yeah.
said there won't be a supply without a demand, and there won't be this big of a demand if there's no, without the structural things that are incentivizing it. Jadi ya udah gitu. Jadi makanya kayak joki, orang-orang yang ngasih service joki, yang these individuals yang terpaksa karena ekonomi, I feel like yes they're wrong, but itu
Yes.
kayak the least of
Right.
our worry. Kind of like I feel like they are not the one perpetuating this gigantic kayak phenomena.
Yeah.
It's
I
more,
would reckon. I don't. Yeah, but we don't know that for.
nggak tahu ya.
Yeah, yeah.
This is my hypothesis, obviously.
Yeah.
I would argue yang lebih itu tuh ya yang corporations, yang
But isn't that a fairly new? That's a fairly recent phenomena, though.
benar. Jadi kayak actually this is why a lot of people were shocked as well. Like joki has always been around. Okay, it's nothing new, but like how they got to promote it so out in the open, how there's pete is new. So
The extent to which that it has evolved, I think.
and that I heard it happened during the pandemic, simply because I think
Oh, yeah,
a lot
that
of
makes
people
sense.
lost their job, and like you get to joki
That makes sense. Yeah.
remotely, and there's less supervision from your professor, from your
Yeah.
teacher, things like that.
Right.
And so there's a boom in the demand and in the
Right.
supply,
Right.
or in perjokian during COVID. But again, this is a highly complicated topic. Like there is multiple reason and root causes on why this happened, and there's multiple players that keeps perpetuating this phenomenon. But I do put a bigger emphasis on the teachers, the parents, the adults. They're supposed to be guiding these kids who are going to school to learn.
Right.
And knowing Indonesians and how we're very hierarchical, like we look up to our elders, right?
Yeah.
And when what we see are them recommending us to do this,
Right.
and disincentivizing honesty,
Yeah.
it's just like it's
Yeah.
very discouraging. We need to put the leaders, hold them to a higher standard, the teachers. Like I know the struggles, the professors, but for those who are not, who get to have a higher standard, like you need to know that these students are looking up to you.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not just the professors, right?
Right.
There's one person that DM me, and that person said, I was very into like being very honest and upholding integrity and working hard, studying. But then I looked at the news and I see the leaders of our nation and how corrupt they are and how they justify nepotism, and they
Right.
don't value any competency in choosing their minister. And I think, what's the point?
All the while, these very people are thriving economically, socially.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we're over here fucking drinking
Exactly.
fucking piss for breakfast. Yeah.
Exactly. And
It turns you
that's-
bitter.
It turns you bitter. And
Yeah.
I read an article like a couple of years ago, and I think there was like one of the article that really made me more politically aware. I forgot who wrote it. It's some scholar that wrote it like in the 19 something. But he wrote that government corruption, essentially, government corruption, it doesn't only cost the country economic loss, but it costs the country the biggest asset a country can have, and that is the young people's idealism. And I feel like these corruption that these leaders are doing and how they're perpetuating and showing a blatant show of nepotism and disrespect towards integrity and things like that. This is the fruit of what they're perpetuating. Basically, they cannot expect to have a nation. Okay, they cannot expect to have a nation filled with hardworking, integrity-filled worker SDM yang berkualitas untuk bantu mereka merealisasikan Indonesia Emas 2045. Kalau mereka ya terus korupsi kayak gini, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, like somebody needs to set the precedence.
Exactly.
For it,
And
essentially.
again,
Nobody wants to do that.
And again, dan ini not to dismiss the fact that there's a lot of joki thing happening in higher education, kayak S3 dosen-dosen yang pengen publikasi jurnal ilmiah itu dia hire joki untuk ngelakuin itu. Jadi professor are hiring joki to do their research for to do their scientific journal for them and things like that. Itu ada juga gitu. Tapi most like what we're talking about mainly is skripsi, right?
Yeah.
And students they're still learning, right?
Yeah.
And they're looking up to their elders, especially in Indonesia, things like that. Jadi emang it is undeniably the leaders, the elders that's supposed to set a better standard and
I'm compelled to agree. Yeah.
role model for them basically.
Yeah. No, I'm compelled to agree.
Jadi kalau misalnya ada guru yang rekomendasiin joki supaya akreditasi sekolahnya atau kayak image sekolah lebih bagus, itu yang dosa yang paling besar juga menurut gue.
Heavy ass fucking topic.
And it's so sad, because I remember, I don't like make me sound like super old, but I remember when I was still in high school or university, and bro, kayak I was so lucky to be in an environment that really encourages competency and really respected like the process and and taught me the joy of learning. And of course kayak ada lah yang teman-teman gue yang nyuri kunci jawaban, yang nyontek barengan and itu of course ada gitu. And I never liked them simply because the teachers really taught me the joy of learning and the importance of enjoying the process. Kayak one of my professors said, when you encounter an assignment that is so hard, you feel like you aren't able to do it, just work on it every single day. And then one day you'll find an epiphany, one day you'll realize that you've done it. And I feel like that's the value of hard work, right? And I really did that. I have a lot of university assignment that I feel like it was super hard because of course you're learning new knowledge, you're learning new skill.
Yeah.
And what I did, I really remembered that what my professor said, and I really went to that assignment. Sometimes I would just sat in front of my computer and not do anything because I have no fucking idea what I need to do. But you learn throughout the process, and it taught you hard work, it taught you resilience and the process of thinking, logical things like that, and you get better.
The process is regardless of the results.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate how my professor and the curriculum that I get to enjoy, do appreciate the process. Of course, there's still kayak grading and things like that, but yeah, I just try to imagine what if it's me back then in high school, for example, working super hard for an assignment and then getting a really bad grade and then having, for example, my parents scold me and then my teacher said like, ngapain harusnya pakai joki, nilai jelek kan jadinya.
Oh, yeah.
And then seeing my friends getting really good grades soalnya ngejoki and then dipuji.
Yeah.
Like that would break my spirit too.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And I won't be the person I am today if I encounter those things too. So that's why Yeah.
Yeah.
I put a harder emphasis on the leaders and the elders, and those with authority.
Now you have me reflecting on like why, on my experience as a student. I'm very proud to say I've always been that one student that, you know, whatever achievements I had, whatever grades I got, it was all mine. And even during the times where I failed or I fell short, at least I gave it my God honest best. And I remember that, and that's the phrase that stuck with me growing up. Give it your God honest best. I had a teacher growing up that knew that I struggled a lot growing up, especially like elementary and middle school. Elementary and middle school were supposed to be like the easier years, but actually for me it was like actually really hard because basically like a lot of shit was going on at home, and so it compromised my academic performance. And so like a lot of my teachers, they knew that I was struggling in classes, particularly in certain subjects, like for example mathematics and science. Like I was never really that strong in that. But I had a lot of teachers that without they weren't judgmental, they weren't assholes about the fact that I was kind of like struggling behind. And I had this one teacher, his name's Chris, and I remember him telling me, you know what, as long as you give it your God honest best, that's good enough. And like that stuck with me. Just give it your God honest best. And then fast forward to high school, I think the one thing now you're making me realize, I could almost start crying like talking about this, but that's also because like I'm about to get my period. I could almost start crying.
But this is a very sensitive issue, I feel like, for a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of them got mad when we just simply blame them.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like that's like us disregarding the process too, and just like labeling them with like whatever label they have now. Joki, oh, lu pasti, you know?
Oh yeah, no, and like definitely there are. I think what came out of this discussion, like trending as well, is like there are people that have that sort of like black and white perspective on this issue, when like nothing is really black and white, right? And like at the end of the day, we're all just like humans trying our best. And humans by default, I think we want to be good people, but circumstances sometimes make it so that we resort to, not good things. But oh my God, I could almost start crying like just thinking about this, because you made me realize, I think one of the things that I took for granted about the academic institution that I was in, especially like in high school, there was such a strong social, socially there was a mutual understanding that everybody had, that as long it did. Of course, like we praise the valedictorians and like like this person has like super like good grades and like she wins awards in every single like field, and all that. Of course, right? But but we didn't exist in there wasn't that culture of like, oh yeah, let's bully and shame this kid for not achieving, like for not having awards. And there was very much this social culture around me of like, just try your best, and as long as it's honest and as long as it's yours.
And not to mention, I feel like your mom is also like that, right?
That too, because I don't know how your parents were like, but I'm so lucky. Fuck, I could really start crying because I'm on my period. But I didn't grow up with the type of mom that was like, you need to get good grades.
Yeah.
You need to get an A and like this and that. There were certain subjects that my mom prioritized more, namely like being mathematics and science and all that type of stuff. Yeah, sure, right? But the one thing, and I remember one time I came home and my mom, she was asking me about my grades, which is like a very rare occurrence because my mom never checks up on me, right? But one day, I remember my mom, like she checked up on me. She was like, how your grades doing at school? Like how you doing at school, right? And I was talking about my grades, like, oh yeah, like in this class I have this grade and that grade and that grade. My mom didn't really care about the grades. She was just like, no, but do you understand what's being taught? I remember that so vividly. It's like, no, I don't care about the grades, but like, do you understand? Like, especially mathematics. My mom was super like passionate about mathematics, right? My mom also like studied mathematics, actually, fun fact about her. And my mom was like, but do you understand like the process of like how to do this and calculate this and all that? Like, what happens if you have to do your taxes? Padahal matematika tuh nggak ada hubungannya dengan pajak ya, ma, tapi like it's the process. And that was what my mom like kept drilling in. And I think I'm like starting to realize how much I took that for granted and how it like really shaped my outlook in life. And that's why, and I don't deny the fact that people like you and me, we get to do things the honest and right way because we have privilege, not just not just
Like, it could-
financial,
but that is
even-
a huge privilege too.
but even the privilege of support from the people that you love and you
Yeah.
admire, and the people that you want
So
respect from.
So another big thing that I read online and I received from the DM is a lot of these kids, they have the pressure from their parents,
Yeah.
to have good grades, and they're struggling, and their parents don't care about the process, the struggle. And not to mention, a lot of these kids, they enter university, they take up a major that they're not passionate about because their parents force them to do that.
Yup.
And because of that, they don't see the value in doing this work. So that's why they don't feel any guilt
Yeah.
or any sense of missing out when they outsource this to that contract cheating thing. And that's why, like, again, same. My parents, they taught me the value of learning, like how amazing it could be, and to enjoy the process. My parents never asked me or never like pressure me to get good grades. And my parents always ask me, what did you learn? Not what did you get. They never ask, what did you learn? And they always ask me to re-explain it to them. And they would listen.
Oh, yeah.
And so they would ask me to really, and I feel like that's why I get, and that's how I get a lot of confident that I can learn anything, you know. And I get to when I don't understand something, it's not because I'm dumb, it's because I just haven't learned it. And I feel like that mindset is so missing in a lot of people, simply because their parents maybe, or their teachers, or people around them kept just saying like, why is your grade so low? Why are
Yeah.
you so stupid?
Yeah.
Why can't you understand this?
Yeah.
And I mean, again, you know, like reflecting back, remembering how I felt when I was still a kid, when I was still struggling, still wanting to like make my parents proud, just trying to find my place in the world. Like, if my parents do that to me, I feel like I would try whatever I can to get good grades, even if it's like lying to them and paying somebody. And not to mention some of these kids, like you were mentioning earlier, when their parents find out that they used to do, like when the parents find out they're cheating and they use joki, dipuji kan, kayak nggak apa-apa, bagus, emang harus begitu.
I'm talking about the kids that when they come home,
Bad grades,
they got bad grades.
Exactly.
And I know kids that came from that type of family.
Yeah.
You get so much as a B in math, they get beaten up like that, like fucking paddle and shit, man.
Exactly.
Like,
And not all kids are born to be good at math, or not all kids are supposed to be good at math anyway gitu.
For
Kayak,
school.
a lot of people, kayak, they're gifted in other things.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And I feel like, you know, again, confining this to the topic of academia, right? I feel like there is this disconnect in people's understanding of how school, performing well in school bears nearly zero, bears zero relevance to how intelligent you are. As in to say, there are people that are, because of their personality, because of their, you know, whatever characteristics that they might have, they're built for school, but that doesn't mean that people that are not built for what? Ooh, interesting. But that doesn't mean that people that are not built for school are stupid. They're just not built for school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know. And this is what I talk about when we say there needs to be a cultural reshifting in the way that we in the way that we think, right, in our mindset of these things.
And yeah, again, like how I emphasize like authority figure, because a lot of these kids are looking at, there are other authority figures, namely like public figures, influencers,
Right.
content creators. You know, a lot of these kids nowadays, they look up to these types of public figures. And that's why I feel like people with a following, people with a platform, they need to speak out also about this, and they need to set a better example as well.
Right.
Instead of perpetuating this jockey by endorsing it.
No, you know, it's the little things. I'm reminded of a friend of mine. Shout out to Gian if you're watching this. I feel like he will. Margianta.
Tahu gua.
Yeah. Gian.
Hi Gian.
Hi, Gian. And big shout out to you, because I remember he was in the process of applying for university. I can't remember if it's master's or PhD. I'm not sure where you are at like your academic level. But as in to say, he was applying for universities and he got a bunch of rejections. And he put it out there. Like, hey, I
Yes.
got rejected.
The fear of failure also.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
huge part.
No, but I think it's
Also.
important. I commend what Gian did, and like I've seen a bunch of other contents like that
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
right? Of like filming your reaction when you get your rejection letter, or like the letter that says that you failed your bar exam, for example, right? But it's important to show. Number one, it's important to show that it's okay that you didn't achieve something now, and it doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you won't ever achieve it, but it just may be like the time is not now.
Yeah.
Right? But it's also the honesty. It's the transparency of it, right? Of like, and it showcases, hey, look, I'm a good person that is loved and respected, and yet I didn't get into the university that I wanted. I didn't pass the exam that I needed to pass, and that does not diminish the quality of my character,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And you worked hard.
Yeah, and the fact that, and of course, it's that, hey, I worked hard.
You
I
tried
did
your
it.
best.
I tried my God honest best. It didn't work out the way that I wanted it, but hey, I gave it my best.
And you came out smarter, stronger, and you learn new things.
Yeah, and I'm
you
alive.
get to try something else or try that again maybe. Yeah.
And it's the little things, like when I think of how people like you and me and everybody listening to this, how we can get involved, it's the little things like that, like the transparency of like what we put up on social media as well, right? The little things like posting like what Gian did, like his like university rejection letters, or just like that you got a 3.5 GPA, and be proud of your 3.5 GPA. It's not a 4.0, sure, and like you know, it's a 3.5, but it's a 3.5
you worked for.
Is the result of your labor, like how much, like tears, blood,
Yeah.
sweat, and tears that you poured into it, you know, and be proud of that.
And it's yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Not someone else's.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the thing that I keep thinking about is how there is no, in Eastern culture, like where we lack is that there's no culture of honoring the struggle. Right? If anything, we shame and stigmatize the struggle instead. Because I remember when I was younger and I was struggling at school, of course, like, you know, the environment around me, my teachers, you know, they'd be like, no, it's okay, just give it your best. But they didn't say that and just like let me be, right? Like they would give me like solutions, like practical solutions, without, in a way that wasn't condescending, in a way that wasn't, you know, like shaming me for the fact that I was struggling, but they would lead me towards like, hey, here are practical solutions. Like, let's see what we can do to like kind of get your grades up in math, and like, you know, maybe like let's figure out ways, like what are your learning styles, you know, for example. It's they don't shame and stigmatize it, and that's why I'm okay with admitting that I don't know how to do something. And so like I can just ask people like, hey, can you like teach me how to do this, and admitting that I don't know how to do something. That's the thing in Eastern Asian cultures, that we're so scared. Most of us are so scared of admitting that we don't know how to do something. And where do you think we got that from, right? It's from the education system, and also like the academic culture around us that penalizes us when we don't.
And I feel like you need to also acknowledge that for you to be able to acknowledge someone's struggle, to be able to acknowledge and empathize and have like that space for you to care for someone, you cannot be empty yourself. You cannot pour to other people when you're empty.
Yeah.
And I think that's why if you're asking me what's the solution, I think one of the best thing that we can do is absolutely make teaching profession in Indonesia, whether that's like high school, middle school, university professor, whatever, teaching job in Indonesia to be the most prestigious, well-paying, and selective program in Indonesia, where all the best talents become teachers because the pay is very good, and they get to have the freedom to apply or create the curriculum or things like that. And basically, but also not to mention, but it still needs to be as selective. It cannot just
Don't compromise on that.
It cannot be just high paying and not selective.
Yeah.
And then it cannot be selective and not high paying. It needs to be both. Like it needs to be very high paying, it needs to be very prestigious, and needs to be very selective. And because I feel like once we get teachers who are happy, teachers who get to have decent pay or a good pay, and those who are teaching because of they're passionate about that and they're good, then we will have then they will have the capacity to be kind and to value process and to understand how to help these students. Because again, like you can value the process, but if you don't know how to teach, these students are not gonna progress anyway.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to guide them. That's their job, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's one way to help improve this, to instill the value of learning, to instill the appreciation of process, to instill the appreciation of knowledge. And then the second one is law enforcement. You need to seriously, because joki, contract cheating is illegal. There's literally an article in our criminal code and also in UU Sisdiknas. So it's you can get your diploma revoked, or even like face imprisonment, but none of that kayak jarang gitu diimplementasiin, or it's rarely upheld. And so law enforcement need to take this seriously as well.
Yeah, I've had the honor and the privilege of talking to a lot of people. A lot of my followers, surprisingly, are people that work in education. They're teachers, maybe like teach high school or whatever, or university professors as well. And heavy on the part where the government needs to start compensating our educators with the amount of money that they deserve to be compensated for. Because when you talk to a lot of people from the education sector in Indonesia, the people that want to pursue teaching as a career, they do it originally because it's passion.
Yeah.
They're dead set, like they're passionate about the job. They see the greater mission, like they very much like they resonate with the idea of educating the future generation and how powerful that is. But I've heard a lot of stories from my followers in the DMs that along the way, it's very hard to be passionate about your job when you're constantly just like
paycheck to paycheck,
like
right?
worrying about your paycheck to paycheck situation and whether or not you're going to be like kicked out of your costs at the end of this month. And even the simple things like you want to do certain classroom activities with your students, and where's that money coming from? A lot of these teachers, they have to like in America, it has to come out of their own pockets, out of their pockets that are already very, very like shallow, and like are stretched super thin. So I think the goal, you and I have very similar goals when it comes to like this issue of perjokian and like where we want Indonesia to head and Indonesian culture want to head. The bulk of it can be achieved if the government would just make the decision to better financially compensate our educators. And yet I doubt that is something that no matter how much we talk about, no matter how much people protest online or offline, and no matter how much we demand it, the government, if they at the end of the day they don't want to, and because they don't care, they're just not gonna do it.
Well, they should.
They should.
Because they want Indonesia Emas 2045, and how the hell are we gonna get there?
They should. I'm just curious, like, what the fuck is stopping them from implementing that now? What's stopping them from being like, teachers are going to be the highest compensated, most prestigious profession in all of Indonesia.
I feel like there's still, again, like, for example, you have the budget. I don't know if they have the budget, but let's say you have the budget. There's still an issue of corruption, of how you disseminate that. And then there's the issue of, again, like I mentioned earlier, it cannot just be high paying, it needs to be highly selective. And so that being selective, and selective in the right way, right? Not selective in all the wrong way, because then you'll end up having a pool of teacher that belongs to like because of nepotistic, like orang dalam thing.
The reason why I prefer the bottom up approach instead of the top to bottom approach is because I don't trust the people on top in this country for fucking shit. And I think that is it for this episode, you guys. Be sure to like, comment, and fucking subscribe, you cunts. This is Abigail from What Is Up Indonesia. also known as Wee Wee. Wee. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We will finish the rest of our food now. Thank you, Wabi Sabi. Bye bye.